While I love tech, cars are one of my passion, so it's only natural to also love the space that houses that interest. So today, I'm excited to share the complete transformation of my garage. When we built this house just 8 months ago, the garage was essentially a blank canvas. My goal was to create a functional, stylish, and organized space that would meet all my needs, which includes parking both our cars in the garage year-round, as well as storage and ability to hang out there. Let me know down in the comment section if you would like to see a video on the cost breakdown. And the plan was to extend the garage landing, finish up the walls, put up new paint, new flooring, wall organizers, cabinetries, a pressure washer, and as well as build a garbage bin enclosure. So we made our first of many trips to Home Depot to pick up some wood, switches. We started with extending the landing to line up with the jut out in the garage. I brought in extra help for this one as I didn't want to DIY such a critical safety piece for the first time. Now this didn't create as much usable space on top or underneath as I had hoped. So we extended it by another 3 feet, making it a total of a 6-foot extension from the original. Okay guys, we're finally done with the nasty part of the job, and that is the drywall stuff. I absolutely hate that part of the work. Doing drywall, modding, sanding, taping, all that kind of stuff. I hated it. But I'm glad that's over, and of course you can see the trail of destruction left behind with all the dust. So this is gonna take a while to clean up. But hey, that's just completely territory. But I'm gonna give you guys a quick run through of what we've done here. If you look over this wall, you can see that we've actually added more outlets here. Well, actually 5 outlets here, and they're all 20 amp outlets compared to the existing 15 amp outlets that was pre-installed by regular in this garage. We have water running through the outlets in the freeze, and then when water freezes, it expands and then breaks the pipe, and then when it melts. In my area, we get wind speeds of up to 130 kilometers an hour. Anything and everything outside gets blown away, including my garbage bins. So we've had to keep our bins in the garage sometimes, which the clutter freak in me absolutely hates. So we decided to build an enclosure in front of the garage. We used 3 bins: compost, recycling, and trash. Now, bin enclosures are not special, but I've added special touches to mine to make it wider. I also added a top lip and a side door. And finally, I added gas struts to aid with opening and closing it. Now, one final convenience feature we added was bungee cord. We used the bungee cords to attach the lip of the bin to the lid of the enclosure for easy access. With the landing extension, bin enclosure, plumbing, modding, and electrical work completed, it was time for a refresh of the garage interior with paint. I discovered that Costco sells paint brushes and rollers too, so I picked up an 8-pack paintbrush and an 18-inch roller kit set from Costco. For paint, we chose the Benjamin Moore's Deep Onyx in a satin finish for the ceiling, concrete footing and the landing, and a polar white for the walls. But first, we applied primer since this was fresh, unpainted drywall. I also picked up this edger from Home Depot to attempt to speed up the edging process. It was a huge waste of money. It caused more mess instead. Another thing that I'm going to be adding over here is this guy. I know, a lot of people might think this is a little bit extreme, but for me, I kind of feel like a baseboard it adds some sort of a finishing touch to any space. You know, putting it right there, you can see it kind of makes it looks cleaner, it looks more finished compared to just having it exposed like this. I mean, this ends up costing a little bit more to kind of add this guy, but this is a personal choice, and I don't think I can ever have a garage. I hate it when a garage doesn't have baseboard. I've done that in my old garage. I did the same thing. My new garage, I'm doing the same thing as well. I'm gonna paint it as well. the fresh paint gave the garage a whole new life. It feels cleaner, brighter, and much more like an extension of our home rather than just a storage space. Now, one big challenge I'm having here is this railing here. It's gonna cost me over almost $500 just to get the extension piece to, close this off. So I'm just gonna have to cheap out on this guy here and use wood instead. So we're gonna move the extension piece right here and use wood to kind of, finish up the rest. And maybe later down the line, I can decide to have $400 or $500 to splurge, then sure I can change it. But for now, it doesn't make any sense to me to spend $500 on a railing when there's so much more stuff I could get. For shelving, I opted for the kitchen cabinets from Rona. They're not the most weather resistant, but I'm planning to install a garage heater this fall to keep them protected. I mounted these cabinets on the wall sections above the landing, which I had just extended, optimizing the use of the vertical space and keeping the garage floor clear for other activities. And there's still enough room for when I install or when I add my garage heater, so that would fit right there. And then lots of more storage option. And a few more things to finish up is the trim as well. I'm gonna paint that a different color to match the baseboard of inside of the house. For storage, I had to scrap my plans to purchase additional shelving. First, because I ran out of budget, and secondly, I'm not impressed with Husky right now. I've been having issues with this Husky bench. The drawer slides have just been absolute garbage. First one is damaged, now the second one is giving me problems. So I'm keeping my eye out for other options from Costco when they go on sale. I called Husky, which is basically managed by Home Depot, multiple times to get my drawer situation resolved for something that's not even up to a year old. They never responded to my emails, replied my phone calls, although they did send me a single replacement for one of the drawers that broke. I had to improvise to fix the other drawers that broke as well. Next up was lighting. I opted for Hexagon lighting. We started by building it out on the floor first. It comes with multiple individual tubes that can be interconnected into an honeycomb or hexagon shape using a V-type looking connector. They just slide right into the hole and snap in place. Once it was built, we moved it up section by section and attached them to the ceiling using drywall screws. Then I went ahead and installed some accessories to match my black and white theme. I put black outlets along the front wall for a nice contrast and swapped out the white plate on my Leviton switch for a black one instead of replacing the old switch. I also added some USB outlets since almost everything needs USB for charging or power these days. For the TV, I reused my LG Bravia 2015 model with the wall mount I took from my living room. This TV was terrible in the living room because of all the light, but with the garage lighting controlled, it should work better here. It's an Android TV, but it's super laggy, so I paired it up with an Amazon Fire TV stick instead. The next thing that I'm excited about is the flooring. Now, this guy right here is called Swiss Track. There were a couple of options when it comes to the flooring. I could have either gone with epoxy or something different. I mean, I got a price quote to actually get the epoxy professionally done, and it was about the same price as going with the Swiss Track. So either ways I decided to go, it wouldn't have made a difference in terms of cost. But I could have also saved a little bit more money by doing epoxy myself, because I've done it myself a couple of times. I did it in my old house, I did it for my mom, I've done it for my friends. So I think I kind of knew what I'm doing when it comes to epoxy. But the problem is epoxy was a pain to maintain, at least for me, because in the winter months I drive my car into the garage, the whole thing melts onto the floor. Especially the slushy ones was the worst, right? Then people, you come out from the car, you step on the slush, and then you drag it up around the garage, or you take it all the way to the front door. So I found myself constantly washing and cleaning up my garage multiple times over the winter months. That kind of defeated the purpose for me, so I'm gonna try this option. It's kind of like this, it's like this great style. From what I've read and what I've seen so far, it's supposed to allow water or snow, rain, drain into it, right? And then it should go outside, depending on the slope of the garage. My garage is sloped outwards, so in theory, the water should drain outside without looking like a big blob of mess. But Swiss Arc, they do have a couple of different options as well. But the color combination was a little bit tricky. I mean, they have like this floor designer on their website where you can actually choose out the colors you want, draw the patterns and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to go with the black and teal, but I got samples and it looks like the black gets pretty bad with stains. You know, stains are very visible, so I decided to change out the design a little bit. I'm gonna have to use just very little black. Then I'm going to use teal so I can get a pop of color, and then I'm either going to use this this guy's called the pearl gray, or I'm going to use the slate gray. Actually, I'm going to use the slate gray because just judging by the way things look right now, you can see that the slate gray kind of blends in with dirt, unlike the black. Then it was time for the pressure washer. I opted for a wall-mounted pressure washer on the back end of the garage. And the baseboard came in handy here with concealing the pipes. We ran the 3/4 inch PEX pipe we had brought in earlier from the basement to the front, all the way to the back, concealing it behind the baseboard for a much cleaner look. In theory, I'm not technically running it through an exterior wall, so I should be able to use it through winter. But I guess we'll find out if you stay tuned on the channel, so make sure you hit the subscribe button if you want to know. The pressure washer has a 100-foot hose, which should allow me to be able to use it around most part of the house. It is very convenient, easy and accessible. Alrighty, just hit another snag again. I've decided that I want to go back to the original plan. I mean, at the beginning of this video I said I was going to go with black as the primary color, teal, the borders, and then silver in the middle. But along the line, I kind of went off track. I decided I didn't want black because black was very, very visible when it comes to stain. So I decided I was going to change it out and get something that has less stain, you know, that shows stain less. But after you trying it out, I figured that, I'll go with the black. It's going to be a little bit more work, but I like the look of the black. So unfortunately, this is going to delay this project a little bit much longer. So I have to ship back all the other pearl green. It's a little bit more money, but I think I'd rather just spend that money and get it done right. Yeah, we're just gonna have to delay it for a bit and I'll do other things while we wait. So let's move on to this guy. So what I've done is, over here, I've installed, I also changed the location of the Dyson. So it was supposed to be right here because I pre-installed the outlet right there for Dyson, but I think it kind of looks much better here. And what I did was I ended up running the cable into the very back end. I used the wire grommet to kind of run it underneath. I think it looks clean, it looks nice. And then I installed this bracket here instead. So now this bracket is going to be, I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet, but right now I have it just for all of the accessories for the Dyson. And the other thing I'm planning to do for decor is I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with this guy. I don't know yet. My idea is, or what I'm thinking of, is to kind of mount this on the wall. Alright guys, I just ran into a little bit of a challenge here after putting in the very first few pieces of my Swiss track. As you can see over here, I have this very visible gap. Now that gap is actually very important for the Swiss track itself because this allows the tile itself to contract and expand. In the winter months, this tile will tend to contract, and in summer months, due to heat, it will expand. If you don't leave at this 1/4 inch gap, you're going to experience the buckle problem. That means the tile will start to pop open when you either drive on it and try to turn, or it will just, depending on how tight it is, it can just pop open, and that could create a problem. Now to fix this gap problem, I got this rubber molding. The idea was to kind of use that just like a baseboard, right? Most houses have baseboards for this exact reason, to cover up that gap. So I decided to try that same thing right here. I was going to use this to cover it up, you know, the rubber baseboard. But my wife says it's ugly. She doesn't like it. And when she says she doesn't like it, I gotta come up with a plan B. So this guy out of the equation. Plan B is to actually paint that gap. So I'm going to paint a 3/4 inch gap between the wall and the tile. So when I put the tile in there, you're going to have that seamless transition between the tile itself and the wall. So it's not going to be very visible when you're looking at it from afar. I mean, if you come closer, you might be able to see the gap. But from an aesthetic point of view, it's not going to show up in pictures, videos, or whatever, right? Luckily for me, I found my old spray gun. It was sitting in my old garage, and it's going to help me solve another problem. The problem here is all these pores in my concrete. The concrete footing is actually not smooth. So when we use the brush and the roller to try and paint it, it didn't get into all of those pores, causing this inconsistency in the looks of the painting. My initial thought was to kind of think of this as like a design pattern, but the more and more I've added, the more I've actually hated it even more. So thankfully I was able to fix that with the sprayer. My goal is not going to be to try and give it a full coat of paint again, because I really don't want to buy any more paint. The goal here is to maximize whatever I have left, and yeah, use it to get the best out of it, and whatever is left, we'll probably put it another year. After nearly 4 weeks of back and forth, the final pieces arrived, so now I can wrap up this flooring project. We started with clearing out the garage and then washed the floors in preparation for laying down the Swiss track tiles. The Swiss track consists of 2 edges with a female loop and 2 edges with male insert. I started at the very top left corner of the garage while facing the door. The first tile had the male insert facing the garage door and the other male insert facing the garage wall. Then I clipped the second tile's male insert into the first tile's male loop. Then I clipped the male insert of the second tile into the first one's male loop and the male insert facing the door. I kept doing this process until I reached the far right. The far right needed some cutting, so I left these pieces for later and repeated the process on the next roll, making sure to follow my design pattern. I got every family member to help out with putting these tiles together, including my 1-year-old son. Now this shows how easy these tiles are to put together. Once the first few rolls were done, I attached the edge piece, which also uses a female loop, by inserting the male end of the tile facing the garage door into the female loop of those edge pieces. Now the really tricky part about this is the cuts. Although cutting it is actually very easy, it is a very time-consuming process to measure and make sure the cuts are precise. I borrowed a jigsaw with a fine-tooth blade from someone in the neighborhood through a local Facebook group. I had to remove some pieces of my staircase, including the handrails, to be able to fit the tiles around the staircase. I ran into more issues with my garage concrete footing. Little tiny chunks of concrete. It throws the measurements and the cutting out of whack, and it's just easier to remove those chunks. I will have to repaint those places all over again. I had so much excess leftovers from the cutting that I might just end up using these pieces for the staircase. For now, I just want to wrap up this project because my son's birthday is coming up pretty soon, and we're planning to host it inside of this garage. If you'd like to see updates about this garage, make sure to like, subscribe, so you get notified when I release an updated video to this one, because there's still so much more to be done here. I'm still going to set up automations, organizations, as well as many other things. Now, the complete transformation of my garage has made a huge difference. It's now a space that not only functional, but also reflects my personal style. From the extended landing to the upgraded electricals and lighting, every detail was carefully planned out to maximize efficiency and aesthetics. Thank you so much for joining me on this one, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.